everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here for an SAU 21 forum. What we're going to do, and I have with me this morning David Hobbs, our assistant um, superintendent, Caroline Erikilian, our executive director of student services, Matt Farrar, our business manager, and Rhonda Evans, who's the assistant to the superintendent, who's helping us do all this and has helped us learn so much about these different platforms over the last week and a half. Kathleen Murphy, our superintendent from SAU 90, is also here as an attendee. And so what we want to do this morning is try to go through some of the issues that we have answers to, tell you some other things that are on our plate in terms of what we're thinking about, and really answer your questions, or quite simply, in many cases, take your questions so that we can try to get answers to them. We've had ideas about doing this regularly. I think we'll announce probably this week, for as long as this situation goes on, how we'll do that and when we'll do that. So thank you for joining us and being patient with us as we try to maneuver a large group on this platform for the first time. So the first thing I want to do is thank all of you. Thanks to our parents, our families, our students, all of our staff, our educators, for the great work that's gone on in taking a very difficult situation and quickly moving to be able to do things remotely with and for our students and families. And you're going to hear a number of things about some of those things this morning. That's a huge endeavor. And we know that we don't have it exactly right, but we appreciate the patience that everyone has shown as these educators have really tried to figure out how to provide quality experiences in the right kinds of time frames and right kinds of volume, for students and families. And we know that's going to be a work in progress. So we appreciate that. So let me dive into a few issues up front that we thought you might want to talk about, and then we'll open it up to questions. You can use the Q&A function on this platform to submit questions. What's going to happen when I finish with these few opening comments? I'm going to go through the questions, bring in Dr. Hobbs, Dr. Erikilian, Mr. Farrar to help us answer those questions. And we're going to try to go about an hour this morning doing that. And again, as I said, we'll do this again. So the first issue I wanted to talk about was calendar and April vacation. So we now know that Governor Sununu has extended the remote learning period in New Hampshire until at least May the 4th. And so immediately questions came up around what are districts going to do with respect to their schedule, their April vacation, those kinds of issues. And so quickly, and so we have a unique situation that we're in here, right? We have a number of students who attend Seacoast School of Technology, the career and tech option at Exeter. And unfortunately, Exeter went out with a calendar very quickly in this process, and caught a number of the other districts that aren't that are involved in SST, caught us by surprise. So Exeter has announced a calendar where they will stop instruction as of April 8th and pick up again after the 13th. And so we're aware of that. And we're looking at that calendar to see if that makes sense for us. It obviously makes sense on some level because of those students who attend SST and the fact that a number of our teachers we know live in those SAU 16 districts. And so we're looking at that calendar and trying to figure out, does that work for us? And are there enhancements that we want to bring to that? For example, some professional learning time within the next month for our teachers who are trying to figure out these platforms and catch up with the material that they're providing to students, those kinds of things. So we don't have an answer for you specifically on calendar this morning, but that's our thinking process, and the ideas that we will take and discuss with the joint board when they meet remotely this coming Tuesday. We hope to have some ideas for them and be able to get something into your hands very quickly. We know that there are districts around the state who are staying with their traditional April vacation. We know there are districts around the state who are foregoing the April vacation. We know there are districts around that have taken the vacation and are dividing it into single day chunks. So, for example, they're going to do 4-day weeks for the month of April and take every Monday or Friday off. So, we're seeing a myriad of different calendar proposals out there from different New Hampshire districts, and we want some time to be able to take a look at all of them and propose something that we think is in the best interest of our students and our staff. So that's where we are on that. I've been asked a number of times as well, does this continue on after May the 4th? And the answer is we simply don't know. We know right now that there are other states, Kansas, California, most recently Vermont, that have ended instruction. They're not going to reopen their schools this year. We don't have an indication from the governor or commissioner as to when such a decision would be made in New Hampshire. But the promise we'll make is that as soon as we get any indication of that, we will communicate that to you and be talking about what those plans would look like should that be the case. Second issue I want to address is statewide testing. So we know that at the federal level, the president and the secretary of education have created a waiver process where states can apply to be exempt from statewide testing requirements this year. New Hampshire applied for that waiver yesterday. New Hampshire was the last state in the country to apply for that waiver. That happened, though, yesterday. But the commissioner has told us that he would like to reschedule these assessments, both the SAS, the grade 3 through 8 assessment, and the SAT opportunity to the fall, so that students would have that opportunity. Then I think there's a lot yet to be said on that, on whether that will happen. What we're very interested in making sure is that our students who used this as an opportunity for the SAT still have that opportunity. One suggestion that's gone to the commissioner is to give kids a voucher, which they would be able to use to take the SAT when they want, for free under that voucher. We like that idea, that we think that's a good idea for our students, and we're going to continue to lobby him on that. But what we know is there won't be any statewide testing in the 2019-2020 school year, so that if we come back in May, there will not be any statewide test administered, which we think is a good thing because we want to have that time for instruction with our students. Most of you have probably heard some aspect of our meals program. Dr. Eric Killian and our food service directors and others have done amazing work in providing meals for students whose families have indicated that they need those meals. And I just want to remind everyone here that you do not need to be eligible for free and reduced lunch to qualify to take those meals from us. So if you're interested in that program, we'll talk later on, but essentially it's just a matter of letting us know or showing up at the school between 9 and 10 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or at the different places where we're distributing those to take advantage of those. Likewise, we've really worked hard to make sure our families have Wi-Fi access, because one of the big concerns in all of this for us has been equity for our students, making sure that everyone can access instruction. And so we asked people who did not have Wi-Fi access to indicate that to us in a couple of different ways, first through a survey, and then through telephone calls that they could place to us. And we actually have been in contact with the people who indicated that to us. We've had people from our districts reach out to those people directly, and we think we've been able to solve a number of them, not all of them. And we now, in the coming days, are going to have access to some Wi-Fi hotspots that we can distribute to other families who may still be having those challenges. So again, it's just a matter of letting us know through the direct line, phone line at our offices, or an email or anything, quite frankly, that would let us know that you may be in need of those services. Some people have asked about working papers. They access working papers through the high school or through us. And Miss Evans tells me that is actually, there's a link on our website that will take you to how you can access working papers right now through the state, given that our office is closed. So please do that. And if you have trouble accessing that, you can simply let us know, and we will help you with that. We've had a number of other questions about what does this all mean to grading and reporting. We know that many colleges have waived the grade requirement for this period of time. That is, they're accepting pass-fail grades. We know that the NCAA has not yet done that for graduating students who were accessing scholarships or programs through the NCAA. We were having extensive conversations, particularly at the high school level, about grading and this period of time, and we expect that we'll be able to answer some of those questions in the coming week. Some people have asked us about high school graduation and commencement. I think they've seen that a number of colleges and universities have already postponed or canceled their graduations. And right now I can say to you, and I think I speak for the high school board when I say this, that we are committed to providing some kind of experience for our students, a commencement graduation experience for our students, whether we come back this school year or not. We don't know what that would look like, but I think I know that's our commitment, and that's something we'll have to talk about in the coming weeks and make available to families so that you can plan accordingly. We've been asked a lot of questions about athletics and extracurriculars. So let me say this about athletics. We don't actually, at the high school level, we don't control those decisions. Those decisions are made by the NHIAA, the Interscholastic Athletic Association. Right now, their position has been that practices could have begun on April 13th, and that games would have commenced on the 27th. Now, that's obviously old information, because the governor has now extended the remote learning period through the 4th. I did receive communication late this week that they were going to be reevaluating that decision and reevaluating what a spring sports season, if there is a spring sports season, would look like. And so as soon as we have that information, I think I saw that our athletic director is on with us this morning. We will make sure to provide that to you so that you can plan accordingly for those kinds of things. Same thing, although we more control these around middle school sports and those kinds of things. Those will more rest with us as we begin to see whether we're actually going to reopen on May the 4th. We'll make those decisions then. So those are the things that, for the most part, were on my list that I wanted to make sure we covered with you. And I guess I would ask my amazing team, Dr. Hobbs, Dr. Arkelian, Mr. Ferraro, if they have items that they want to add before we open this up to questions. Dr. Hobbs?
Sure. Yeah, I can jump in. With respect to teaching and learning, obviously the kickoff last week to this was all about making sure people are up to speed with technology, devices, hardware, and knowledge of platforms. We've kind of gotten our feet underneath us with respect to that and developed website architecture that's more or less a help desk scenario for parents, teachers, and students. We've done a lot of work on teacher accountability, meaning we're logging the number of hours that teachers are putting into their work, logging the number of hours that they're expecting students to put into their work, and trying to get our arms around what is the sweet spot in terms of work rigor, and amount of time spent. We've done this week particularly a lot of work around consistency in teaching methods. I think we've seen a lot of teachers try to simplify their instruction, whittle down to a couple of different platforms, making sure that the expectations are clear. I think a lot of teachers, at least at the primary grades, are looking at Seesaw. And then, of course, middle and secondary, we're using Google Classroom, screencasts, that kind of thing. Dr. Lupini spoke about the calendar, and that's been a big conversation for us. We do, with respect to school scheduling, right now the SAU runs the gamut. We have certain schools within the SAU that have actually put out a school-wide learning schedule daily. And we have other schools that are working in teaching teams, basically. So a team will get together and they'll have a learning menu for the week. There'll be extension activities, there'll be core, must-do activities. So that puts us on a schedule as well. That's where we are with scheduling. And then, of course, the big conversations coming up as this remote learning extends are around grading and assessment. What does it look like to grade and assess in this scenario? And we are actively having meetings with curriculum coordinators, building principals in order to give clear messages. One of the things I think that's most important is this has been a time of uncertainty for everybody. And the more certainty we can give our families and our kids, I think the better off we'll be. So that's my goal currently.
Thank you, David.
Yep.
Dr. Arkelian?
Thank you. We've been working hard in special education to reach out to families and to provide specialized instruction and services to the greatest extent possible, given this remote learning environment. And like Dr. Hobbs said, we're working to strike the balance between reaching out, fostering students' independence, while not bombarding families with too many reach outs. So that's something that we're working on. We have a lot of people who care a lot about students and want to make sure that they're having those connections. So we're working on that. As far as meals continue to be available to any and all families who would like to participate. Those are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The pickup is 9 to 10 a.m. at both Seabrook and Winnacunnet sites. We also have a delivery schedule, and the bus stop schedule is different from the usual bus stop route. It's a special schedule that we've created. There are 2 routes that go out of Seabrook that serve all our districts, and it's posted on SAU21.org. We have a lot of really great resources posted on there for families with regards to food, different resources for food. That's not only the SAU21 free lunch program, but also Meals for Kids. They're doing pickups in Hampton and at the Fox Run Mall. So that's new information that people should go to the gathernh.org website. And then also regarding internet access, as Dr. Lupini mentioned, we just received some hotspot devices. We thought they were not coming in for another week. So we'll be identifying which families still need those hotspots, because we want to make sure there's equitable access for the internet across our districts. Very lucky that most carriers have lifted charges and overages and restrictions for using your cell phone as a carrier. I just heard that Verizon added extra data to everyone's plan. If you have Verizon, they just added data to your plan through April 30th.
Yep.
So that's true for Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. And then also Comcast Xfinity hotspots, though, they made those available to anyone. You don't have to be a Comcast customer. And there are several other companies that are doing that also, Atlantic Broadband, I believe. So we've compiled what we know as internet resources to date. We're going to keep updating those, but we have posted those no-cost Wi-Fi options also on our website if you have access to it. But But if this, if by phone call is the easiest way for you to communicate with us, that's always something you can do. We're always checking the voicemail at the SAU, and we'll continue to have that as an option for you to reach out.
So thank you for that. So Rhonda, I'm getting a couple of messages that I don't understand because we're actually over 100, but someone said they couldn't enter because the group had exceeded its size, but I'm seeing 121, so I don't think that's an issue.
I don't, it shouldn't be from what Dave and I were able to determine
Right.
earlier.
So let me answer the question though that the person has asked, and that is, would there be a transcript available with this? Yes, we're going to post this video to our website like we've done with our board meetings. I think, we're recording? No, we're not recording, so we're not going to be able to do that. Sorry. I thought we were going to do that. So maybe we'll do something with the questions at the very least out of this. But we'll keep that in mind for future. Again, we're getting used to the platforms. So Mr. Ferrara, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, good morning. There will be a recording about facilities, so I do want to provide an update on our buildings. So we really have a top priority to maintain safety for our staff during this closure, as well as to ensure the health of our students once we do return to, or they do return to schools. So as part of that effort, we are limiting access to all of our buildings. That includes, so that's, we are cutting off our access codes to staff that do not need to be in the building. There are certain staff members who do need to be in the building for very limited periods of time and limited sections of the building. That includes our school nutrition workers who are working diligently to provide meals for our students. We also have, one-offs such as maintenance. There's certain maintenance tasks that need to occur where we have our facilities manager or staff members that do need to enter the building. However, we are keeping that at a minimum. As part of this effort, we are also, leading up to this closure, our facilities team was sanitizing the buildings on a nightly basis. And we have contracted with a remediation company who have sanitized and disinfected all of our buildings within SAU 21. They have finished that up on Wednesday. That was over the course of 5 or 6 days once we closed. And then we will be doing another sanitizing effort in disinfecting 48 hours to 72 hours prior to the reopen of school. We just want to make certain that we, there is some uncertainty in regard to how long the virus lasts on surfaces. There have been multiple reports of length of time. We have been instructed by, the governor, through his press conference that, that all schools should be sanitized. And we do anticipate that we should receive, reimbursement for doing this sanitizing through either the state or through the federal government. There is, as part of the stimulus plan that was just passed by Congress and signed by the president, there is specific monies available set aside for the sanitation and cleaning of school buildings. So that's our plan moving forward to ensure that we have a healthy, safe environment for when our students do return to schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
So Dr. Lupini, just a quick,
Sure.
I just got an email from Derek Roberts. He's the head of WHTV at the high school. They've been recording the whole thing. So
Excellent.
We will post a full recording of this meeting.
Yay.
Not just buildings.
Not just facilities. That is wonderful to hear. Thank you for that. And we can post that link as well on our website. That's wonderful of them. Thank you. Can I just, before I go to the questions, I am truly appreciative that there are 116 people who have jumped on with us this morning to do this. We appreciate that very much, that you would spend part of your Saturday morning with us talking about issues relative to the schools and your kids, and thank you. So it looks like, by the way, the one comment I'm getting is that there are a limited number that can join by phone, is what I'm getting on a couple of emails. It's not computer access, but it's phone access. So again, we're gonna post this entire meeting. So let me go to the questions. And the first question is from Sylvia, who says, will scholarship paperwork deadlines be extended? And Sylvia, that is a great question. And I don't know the answer. My sense is that with scholarships that we're aware of, probably, or that we know of, or that are ours, I'm sure the answer will be yes. But for others, I'm not sure. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm making a list of questions that we can't necessarily answer this morning. We have a principal meeting on Monday afternoon, I believe it is. And I'm going to take questions that we can answer directly to the right people, and that question would be a great question for Mr. McGowan, and we will ask him that and make sure that he gets information out to all students and parents about that. Okay, so I will make sure we get that to him. Okay. Next question is, has there been any discussion about matching the school schedule that SAU 16 put out this week? Yes. So I sort of alluded to that at the beginning. And I want to say this in terms of calendar as well. One of our key partners in this is SAU 90. What we're going to make sure that we do is that we match calendars with SAU 90, because they make up such a large part of our high school population, and we want to make sure that we honor that for families. As I said earlier, we are taking a look at the SAU 16 calendar, because we know we have parents who send their kids to SST. We know that we have a number of our employees who live in those communities. And so what we've been thinking about is, how do we take that calendar and enhance it? It's a good starting point, and are there ways for us to enhance that calendar? And that's the conversation we're going to be having. But yes, we are having a number of conversations about using the SAU 16 calendar that they've put out as the basic building block for ours. This isn't a question, but it's a comment, and I'm just going to read it. We want to say thank you for all that you're all doing. Our school staff at Northampton has been nothing short of incredible and amazing. We are so grateful to all of them and to you, and we very much appreciate that. And I will pass that on to them through Susan Snyder, the principal, when we meet on Monday. I am very appreciative for that comment. Thank you so much. Here's the comment about Verizon adding. Yes, we all of us who are Verizon got that little notification on our phones last night. So yes, Verizon has added 15 gigabytes of mobile hotspot at no charge from 325 to 430. Got that message either last night or today. Yes, and as Dr. Arkelian said, that's really part of helping us with the strategy that we're putting in place. So Dr. Hobbs, we have a number of questions now that I'm gonna divert to you. So let me start with the first one. Will teachers be using video conferencing as a way of in K to 8 as a way to delivering content, or will it continue to be delivered via Google Classroom?
Right. So we have an expectation that we can either deliver content synchronously or asynchronously. We haven't come down with one or the other quite yet. I think a lot of teachers are recording screencasts, or recording themselves, and then putting that out to classrooms for viewing throughout the course of the week. Others have actually set up Zoom meetings much like this, or I believe it's TikTok is the platform for the primary grades. So there is an expectation that there is a face-to-face component for instruction. However, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, we haven't come down on a mandate with that, nor do I expect us to come down on a mandate with that.
Okay, thank you. I think this one's similar. What about face-to-face expectations with teachers and students?
Right. I think my interpretation is that's a similar question. Right now, students should anticipate seeing the face of their instructors. Whether or not that's in real time is going to be left up to the team decision and up to the individual teacher discretion.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Here's a question about platforms. So is it possible to have third grade use Seesaw? I think this is Northampton instead of Google Classroom. These are parents who are seeing themselves having to learn many different platforms or help their kids with many different platforms. And so you want to talk about more generally platform choice and those kinds of issues?
Yeah, obviously within the umbrella of let's keep it straightforward and simple. We do want to give teachers and administrators leeway in terms of the platforms that they're leveraging in the classroom. The two that have emerged, this has been an iterative process. This process has evolved. The two that have emerged are Seesaw and Google Classroom, both of which have benefits, and quite frankly, developmentally speaking, both have benefits. Seesaw for the younger grades, Google Classroom for the older grades. I fully anticipate allowing or endorsing that to happen, the use of Seesaw as a platform, especially in those primary grades. I think the best work that's going to be done around that is going to be within the teaching teams and within any kind of horizontal meetings we can have. So, for example, all third grade teachers in the SAU can get together on a platform and decide kind of where they want to be. Consistency is a key point for us right now, though.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Next question is about AP exams. What about AP exams? Heard they will be online only and that the test is being adjusted. That's true. How is WHS preparing students for this? So let me just say one piece about this. It is true that the College Board has moved their AP exams. There will not be live face-to-face AP exams this year. They will be online. They will look different, is what we're being told. Our instructors of AP courses are aware of that. They are also aware, and I want to give a shout out to the College Board on this piece. The College Board has posted lectures, classes with a number of their instructors from across the country online that all students in all AP courses have access to. We've provided that to our instructors at the high school so that they can share that with students who maybe want to access a particular lecture on a particular topic in a particular course. So they have all that material. David, beyond that, is there something you want to add with relative to AP?
So the College Board has put out the YouTube channel. I don't know if you covered that. And the exams will be online, 45 minutes, is my understanding. They're not going to be multiple choice. And we're working with our AP teachers to get a schedule and get some curriculum together around that to supplement some of the work that's going on YouTube. That's it.
Great, thank you. I'm going to skip down because these next two are about accessing this session. And here's a question that we've spent a lot of time on, right? So someone's talking about their freshman son who's averaging an hour and a half to 2 hours of work a day. It's largely comprised of worksheets. What's the plan for more interactive instruction and helping to maintain a sense of normalcy? And I guess I would add to that of us making sure that we're taking into account that kids at the middle level in high school are taking a number of courses and adjusting workload.
Yeah, I assume I'm on that one.
That would be you,
So,
yeah.
this has been an ongoing conversation, and I really would kind of characterize it as a two-pronged debate. There are some of our community members out there that are looking at remote instruction as something that should mimic a school day. My kids should be on their computer doing this and that, following a schedule. There are others who appreciate and want more leeway over the course of a school week, for example, more long-term assignments, more application. So we're really trying to thread that needle in terms of what we provide. I think two of the most effective things that we've seen. One is the publication of some sort of schedule, and that's been on kind of a team-based thing where you give expectations for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The other thing is the concept of must-do assignments versus enrichment assignments. We have a number of teachers putting out there, hey, look, in this course, you have to. However, if you want some enrichment or if you want to push yourself a little bit farther, you do have those enrichment opportunities. That's been kind of the working theory on how to thread that needle between mimicking the school day and leaving it open. I hope that at least addresses some of the question.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Hobbs. I see a comment here, and Dr. Arkelian, maybe you want to comment on this, from one of our really amazing social workers who says that Meals for Kids is still happening in Seabrook on Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. So that's a program in addition to what we're doing?
That's right. So that is the coordinated by Gather. So that the pickups are on the gathernh.org website, and I think I left off Seabrook before. So as far as the pickup, so Maria is reminding me that I left that off when I spoke earlier. Thank you, Maria. So it's a week's worth of food. And so information on that is on their website, but it's a pickup at Center School and at Seabrook Rec, I believe, and at the Fox Run Mall.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so now we're into good tough questions. So what is the plan for the Winnicott High School prom? Other schools have senior proms and we have a junior prom. Parents heard from the high school principal last night, mentioned words such as possible in 2020. Girls have their dresses upsetting to read at 8:30 p.m. I am certain of that, and it's one of those issues that that we're just sorry we're even talking about. This issue, like many others, is one where we're having conversations about how do we do these events? How do we make sure that these events stay in place in some way and still deal with the reality that's in front of us? And so when Mr. McGowan says there's talk about 2020, he has at least talked with us, with me yesterday, about the idea of a fall event, but that all depends on when we go back, right? So is it possible to do something yet this year? Probably difficult, but maybe possible if we had a better timeline, which we don't have right now. So he is trying right now to deal with the facts in front of him and still honor kids. And so that's why he's talking with me right now about the possibility of an early fall event, to hold that event for juniors who would then be seniors. And so nothing's been decided yet. All those conversations are still on the table, and I'll continue to talk with him about those events as we get more information on the calendar. I have a parent here who said for 8th graders, who specifies one school, but I'm going to, if you don't mind, generalize your question to all. Would you consider allowing kids to return to school once this all lifts, to see friends socialize and have the graduation, even if it's over the summer, a reunion at the school, even for a day? The answer is yes. The answer is, if we're able to do, and that's really what I was trying to say with the last question, if we're able to do these kinds of things, given the time frames that will be provided, the answer is we're going to err on the side of kids every time, and trying to find ways to get them into a sense of normalcy and school as quickly as we possibly can within the safety parameters that we're all provided. The answer is yes. So that's part of the discussions that I have with every one of our principals and this team of people every day. Can you talk about ideas down the road for graduation and junior prom? Well, I just mentioned junior prom, but graduation, we simply don't know. We know that there are people talking about remote events and then bringing people together when they can, even if that's during the summer. We're open to looking at those ideas. Um, and anything else. What we're going to do is, the colleges are a little bit ahead of us on this. Colleges and universities, most of them have canceled their events for this year in our regions, and so we're going to pay particular attention to what they try to do and see if we can learn from it and if we can implement those ideas for all of our students, because we know that these are really important events and we want to hold some semblance of them whenever and wherever we can. Let's see. Thank you, Linda, for that nice comment. Linda Libby, our president of our CESPA group, is with us this morning as well. And I think I saw John Croto, the president of our Teachers Association. And in particular, I haven't talked as much with Linda, although I know Caroline has. But I want to just give a shout out to John Croto, who I have, from the time I took this job, considered to be a great partner in the work that we do, and particularly during this time, has been just an exceptional partner in this work. So I just want to give John a shout out. The administration and staff have been doing a great job under the circumstances. Academic lessons have been spot on, but my kids are missing the social aspect of school. Is it possible for teachers to add live instruction, even just 5 to 10 minutes a day, to say hello to the class and outline assignments? I think, Dr. Hobbs, you addressed some of that, but I think one of the things that teachers, that principals should hear from us is that we're hearing some of this idea of, even for short periods of time, can teachers get together with kids in a live kind of mode? Do you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, I certainly think that's a good idea, especially considering just the stress that we're kind of all under. It's nice to have that outlet to interact with peers and interact with our teachers in a live environment. I think in terms of setting policy, I think that's something we're going to want to bring up on Monday with our building
Yes.
principals.
Yes.
And kind of get at least a philosophy or a stance within each building about how and kind of what that looks like. But it's duly noted.
Yeah, and the next question is very similar about Hangout sessions or Zoom sessions. So I'm just going to put that in that same mode. By the way, one of the other reasons we really wanted to do this is we're able to take these to our meetings during the week, to our meetings with principals, with other partners, and so this is really, really helpful for us. So thank you so much for these comments, because as Dr. Hobbs said, we will take this to our principals on Monday when we meet with them. I'm going to skip down because this question is very similar. Given the chance that remote learning period could be extended through the end of the school year, will there be consideration to modifying summer schedule for those students who are on an extended school year? Concerns around student regression if out of school for anywhere from 8 to 18 weeks. So, one of the things you may have seen in the letter that I sent on Friday is I think what summer looks like is on the table, period. I'm going to let Dr. Achillian speak specifically to the question that you've asked, but I think what we do and when we do it, when we get clearance to return, is really all on the table, and we're talking about those kinds of things now. But Dr. Achillian, with respect to students, a modified summer schedule for those students who are on extended school year, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. So for extended school year, I'm having weekly meetings with our special ed directors in all our districts, and we're already starting to talk about this as far as, what will our extended school year look like? What will the beginning of next school year look like? It could be that we are modifying some things that not only summer, but going into the next school year, because I'm not sure what the expectations will be like on students in the fall, given this remote instruction. It's not going to be that we just start up the fall like none of this ever happened. It's going to start up, and everybody's going to be adapting to it and figuring out where students may have maybe regressing, maybe they lost skills. And it's going to be, you know, as far as students and IEPs, it's going to be something that the team needs to get together and discuss and make a decision together, because it's an individual decision. That's that answer. But as far as ESY is concerned, that's something that, you know, we want to be creative about, and we want to make sure that students are involved. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's about creative solutions, and, you know, whatever we can do at this point. It's hard to say right now, given, you know, we have this May 4th date, but we're not sure what the future holds, and as far as, you know, where we're going to be at that point. But it's definitely something we're talking about every week.
Thank you. Next question is, any insight on how this affects students applying to college? This is a critical time for juniors. Well, I mentioned the SATs, and you know, our number one priority is that juniors, with respect to the SATs, is that juniors retain access to being able to take the test free, like they do as part of the statewide assessment program. Whether that's through a voucher, or the commissioner has this idea about allowing them to take it in the fall in all schools. I don't know how we feel about that yet, but we want to make sure juniors have that chance to do it. I will say, and I don't know whether anybody else on our team here has comments on this, but what I've seen a lot of is colleges modifying their timelines for application. Quite frankly, the thing I've seen the most is colleges and universities waiving the SAT requirement for this year. Colleges, while there were a growing number of those who were already doing that, that list has grown. So I think that's something you're going to see come out of this, are less schools requiring SATs. So that's what I have. I guess I would ask you to check in with your guidance counselor during their office hours to ask those questions, those specific questions to applying for college and juniors. Those are the pieces that we're trying to keep track of, is mainly those SAT opportunities for students. Anyone on this at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just chime in. You know, look, there are things that you can control and things you can't control with regard to the colleges. However, I think all of us are approaching these scenarios, grading and assessment, college admissions, in the sense that we want to do right by our kids, and we never want to put our kids at a disadvantage through any of the policies that we put in place throughout this. I think that's going to be a continual litmus test for me, at least throughout this entire period. Is this doing the best by our kids?
Thank you for that. How do we keep track of community service hours? I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. I've already written that question down. I'm going to bring that up. As I said, we meet with the principals on Monday. I will bring that up with the high school principal, and go from there. Okay, there's a oh, I love this question. There's a question here. Will school-based teams be doing this kind of forum? Sure. Sure. We'll talk with them about that on Monday. They'll love that idea. So I don't know. We'll talk about that on Monday. I've actually included that on a list for our Monday conversation. It's a great suggestion, but that's easy for me to say, right? So, or we may add them to these discussions. We may do them and add them. I think what I've seen from this morning is, you know, adding Mr. McGowan and maybe some members of his team would be a good idea, specifically around some high school issues. So that's a great suggestion, Marcia. Thank you, and we'll bring that up with principals on Monday. AP testing plans, we just went through. There will not be an AP test in the traditional sense that you've seen it this year. It'll be online. I think, Dr. Hobbs, you said they're 45 minutes. They're not multiple choice questions. They're more writing, essay kind of questions.
Yeah, that's what we know.
Yeah. So that's what we know right now. As we get more information, we'll put that out. Will there be flexibility regarding meeting requirements for UA classes? Lessons in art, technology, Spanish, oh, good luck, in a way that covers all 4 of my students. The multiple lessons in UA coming through for us is not feasible for us on top of all the other academic requirements. Dr. Hobbs, you want to say anything to that?
First of all, 4 kids. Wow. All
Yeah.
right. I've got 3 at home, and it's been a challenge. With respect to Unified Arts, the message we've been putting out to our teachers is integration, working on multiple levels with core content teachers to see if you can, kind of embed yourself in that instruction. I agree that when you have these unified arts coming in from all different directions, it's difficult to schedule, difficult to keep on target. The other thing I think we can start talking about a little bit more comprehensively as an SAU is the ability for unified arts teachers to start meeting regularly with teaching teams to kind of coordinate when and how those assignments come out. As Dr. Lupini said earlier in this, we're looking at the school calendar, which is going to hopefully dovetail in or bake in some professional development days where we can actually get teams of teachers to work together. I think that'll go a long way to iron some of those wrinkles out.
Great, thank you. How will, oh, I lost it. Oh, there it is. How will students in English classes at Winnicott High School be provided literature books, which are part of the curriculum?
I don't know yet.
That's a good question.
And I know there's loosening obviously around copyright and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what we have in terms of subscriptions for online books or digital books, also audiobooks. That's something that we can bring up with the high school team and high school curriculum coordinator on Monday. But it certainly should be, there's always, of course, the opportunity to use real paper and real books. Yeah, we'll write that down. We'll put that on for principals. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Let's see. Thanks for the forum. Thank you for this call. Thank all of you. Boy, thanks for joining us. This has been just amazingly helpful. Principal McGowan's been a great support. That's wonderful. Pat Moore, music teacher at Winnicott High School, has been doing great social check-ins. That's wonderful. That's amazing. This person says amazing for morale and sense of normalcy. That's so great to know. Let's see, just a comment regarding having live meetings with students. I'm finding scheduling conflicts as we as teachers are trying to schedule these meetings. Yes. I scheduled an 11 a.m. meeting and some students couldn't attend due to a meeting with another teacher. And we know it's one of the things we've talked to principals about is trying to help people create schedules to do those kinds of things. And it's easier said than done in some situations. David, do you want to add anything to that?
Sorry, I was muted.
That's okay.
No, I mean, we're doing what we can with respect to that.
Yeah. Yes to this comment, and I said something about this at the beginning. Our teachers are amazing. They are incredible. They have picked up these platforms quickly and gotten very much up to speed on using them. And this comment is, please be patient with us as we try to make our lessons accessible to all students. We're learning new platforms, our lack of experience in delivering content. Yes, 100 times yes to our amazing teachers and the work that they are doing. Thank you for that comment. In respect to Dr. Achillian's answer regarding IEPs, there's been little communication given to parents of students with IEPs. Is there a way to make parents more aware of conversations being had? Many parents are concerned about their child missing key services. Is there a special education platform where parents can see planning updates regularly? Caroline, do you want to jump in on that?
I'm ready to jump on that question.
Please do.
So I have a letter I'm about to send out to, or to ask Dr. Lupini that I may send out to all our families. That includes some updates regarding what we're receiving from the Bureau of Student Support, as well as the Federal Office for Special Education Programming. with regards to ESY, with regards to meetings, service delivery, and specialized instruction given, remote instruction, options for compensatory education, and what we might be considering going forward with remote instruction. So I want to make sure that I'm communicating to families what we're hearing. Our legal counsel is working with the DOE to put together an amendment to our rules to make sure that students with disabilities are represented, their rights are represented in our safeguards, given this new kind of instruction. So that's something I would like to put together to inform the community about. And then, I hadn't considered a platform. I think that, we have some internal guidance documents, but it could be that we add some things to our SAU 21 website that would be helpful to parents. So that's something that I think is a great idea, that we should beef that up and add some pieces on there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any allowance or consideration for kids taking difficult AP math classes online? Instruction is different online than in person. Yes, it is. If one's a good student, not thriving in an online version of the class. I think I've heard that topic a number of times this week in a number of classes with respect to online learning is very different than having access face-to-face with a teacher every day. David, is there a comment, anything you want to say to that question?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a known issue. Obviously it's going to look different. We're trying to find the balance between, that personal interaction and just kind of recording lessons, and using, in the case of AP classes, using the YouTube channels that are there. I think the answer to this question lies in the communication between teachers and kids. Is this format working for you? How can I augment my lessons in order to meet your needs? How can students work with their schedules in order to make this a little bit more doable? I think, this is the answer to that's in the interaction between teacher and student.
Great, thank you. Shout out to Lisa Woodruff at LAS. Thank you for that. We'll pass that on to Lisa. We appreciate that. Will online, I missed one though. Oh, circling back to the subject of ESY students' needs for kids who aren't in that group, but indeed at risk of regressing. Is that conversation all in the mix? Yes, I mean, that's really what I was alluding to before I turn that over to Dr. Eric Killian. We are having conversations about what this school year, whether we come back on May the 4th or whether we don't come back, what that means when we have access to bringing people into our buildings again, and what we do with that time, right? For all kids, for any kids. So that's a conversation we're having regularly as this becomes more of our reality, is what does that mean, and what will we want to do and need to do for kids, both as we start next school year, because quite frankly, whether we come back on May the 4th or whether we are out for the rest of the year, we know that the beginning of next school year looks different, right? And we also know that we may want to do some things in the summer, make some things accessible to families in the summer that we wouldn't normally do. And so all those things are being talked about. So yes, thank you for that question. David, you're going to love this question, because this was the conversation of ours very early on. Will online learning continue to be a choice for kids at SAU 21 once we resume normalcy? So from the very beginning of this, one of the things that we've talked about often is, what will we learn from this that we can actually apply to the way we do business, right? So that's a really key question. Thank you for asking that question. Yes, that's a really important part of when we're in the middle of all of these things every day, we're trying to keep a focus on, are there things that we learn out of this, whether it's about our evening school or about our high school or about K-8, are there things that we can learn that we can actually apply? And one of the key things for me has been this idea of more blended courses that have face-to-face time and have online components that students can opt to take. And so I think that will be a conversation for us as we get through this. Has there been a thought to surveying families about their schedules? I don't know, but it's a good question for maybe us to bring up with principals. They would maybe know if they've thought about that. And again, I know there are families that are between buildings. They have kids in different grades. They would be able to help us with scheduling classes and conflicts. So yes, we'll bring that up with them. That question's here twice. What about kids who don't have support at home throughout the day due to their parents still working as essential employees? Any options for extra support from teachers? David, Caroline, either of you want to talk about that?
The kids who don't have support at home throughout the day.
Yeah, my first reaction on that is going to be it's going to be different for different age kids, the amount of support needed. I think, one of the things we've got to do throughout this entire process is start leaning on our support services that we have within our schools. We have myriad counselors, we have social workers, we have people that's their job is to reach out to families and offer those kind of supports. I think, with regard to the support services in general, we can kind of make that shift into pushing in or into supporting families in any way they need. Obviously, that's going to have to be online or at an acceptable distance, but it's certainly worth bringing up in our different schools.
We have layers of support organized at this point, where if we feel like if teachers are feeling like they're not reaching a student, or a student is not turning in work, the teachers try to reach out, and then it goes to the next layer. So that might be the counselor, the school counselor. It might be the school nurse, depending on where the student has a connection. Sometimes students are in the nurse's office often. Sometimes students are in guidance often. So this mimics what we do in the buildings. When we're in the buildings, if a student's having trouble in class, or if a student is not turning in work, the next layer of support reaches out. And that's when we look to find out, okay, what are, what on the list can we eliminate? Is it internet access? Is it not understanding the work? Is it needing extra support for comprehension with the work, maybe accessing Google Classroom, or understanding the questions in the assignment? Then we look to, teachers, support staff, that next layer, tier 2 of support for students who need that. So certainly I would encourage anyone on the call who feels like their student needs extra support to email your teacher. Email the teacher and say, my child needs extra help. Who can we reach out to have extra support? Because there are people who have office hours, and the student through email can reach out to people to say, I need some extra help in math, or I need some extra help. Maybe I just need someone to talk to. We have, that's what the guidance counselors want to do. The school counselors want to be there to be available to students when whether it's an academic issue or a social issue, or, maybe it's just navigating this new way of doing school that's, can be really scary for kids, unpredictable and isolating. For some kids, it's really hard to navigate. So we want to hear about that, and we want to help students and families do that however we can.
Thank you. It is encouraging to hear that more opportunities for professional development and training are being considered for SAU 21 teachers. So yes, I want just one more time to go back to that count. Thank you for that comment, which I assume is from one of our teachers. Yes, it is. So it's one of the reasons we're saying we'll probably end up taking something like the SAU 16 schedule and building on it, making improvements to it. Is this issue of we're looking strongly at the idea of building some professional learning times or days into that. So thank you for that comment. I hear about a survey. My son's a 9th grader and says he got a message about a survey, but he's not received any survey. Can you comment on this? I can't, but I've written it on my list about whether does anybody know about a high school survey?
I do. I believe they sent a survey out to students that should have gone to all students. I don't know this specific situation, but my understanding is that's going to be part of a continual kind of feedback loop. So if kids are not getting the survey or access to it, we can fix that in future iterations.
Thank you. Will a student receive any credit for involvement in an ELO? My student was involved in the ACE program with Oyster River High School. ELOs, I assume the answer is yes. Anybody done any thing directly with Donna Couture and ELOs through any of this? I have not.
I haven't. I would assume, just like everything else, if we get creative, there's a way to transition some of these experiences to an online presence. And I don't know about this specific case, but that said, I think we need to have a posture for our ELOs,
right?
And just an expectation.
Agreed. We'll bring that up on Monday in our conversation with the high school principal. Here's someone who says, I have a student in ELO. I love this platform, by the way. I have a student in ELO at WHS, and yes, the credit will occur. So yes, the answer is that it will. But we'll bring it up with the high school principal on Monday with Mr. McGowan, because we want to make sure you all have the answer to that question.
I have a couple answers to a couple questions.
Okay.
That people have been emailing me. So first of all, Mr. Frankor sent out 2 surveys this morning, but I believe it was only to the class of 2020 and 2021. Also, as far as recording community service hours, it's Deb Kraft who has that information, and her email is dkrapf@winnicott.warriors.org. And then I do have some information about scholarships. So as far as will they extend deadlines? So Melinda Schaffner is our college counselor at Winnicott, and she said yes, some of them. Most of the April 1st deadlines have been extended. She has emailed all seniors with updates, put on her page on the Winnicott website, and updated the Google Doc of all scholarships with all the information that she has. She says, however, she doesn't think many of the later ones may see a need to extend. They can all be done online pretty much. She wouldn't expect lots of extensions past April 1st. But what is changing is how they're being submitted, since we're not there to mail or pick up. And so that's what she's constantly updating on the Google Doc that seniors have. She's also been in touch with seniors about what colleges are doing about commitment dates, information about financial aid and changes that may be necessary. And she is accessible to all. It's the same for juniors, that she's being in touch with juniors. She emails them and also puts it on her part of the Winnicott website. So on Winnicott website, if you go to the main menu where all the links are listed, she has a link, college counseling. And she's keeping that really updated. So if you have questions about college deadlines and college scholarships and changes, that's where you would go, is winnicott.org. I think that's what I have.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Sure.
So seeing no more questions, I think we're going to conclude. So I want to thank this amazing team of people that I have the opportunity to work with every day. I think you've seen what an amazing group this is just here this morning, and how committed they are to your students and our teachers. And so thanks to all of you. If you need to reach any of us, first of all, you should always start with your teacher, your principal, your building level administrators. But if you do need to reach any of us, you can do that. Our emails are all at sau21.org, and it's the first letter of our name. In my case, it's B, not W, although I think W reaches me as well. And our last name, those are our email addresses. They're available on the website. I also, real quickly, while I have all of you for a moment, want to thank our boards. We work with 23 board members. They have been in the middle of transitioning after an election. In the middle of all this, we had to figure out a way to go online with board meetings. We've done it. And so board meetings are going on in an online fashion that's now permitted by the governor's executive order. And so we're back on a regular meeting schedule, and our board members have been amazingly supportive to us, to your building level administration, and to your teachers and support staff through all of this. So thank you to all of them, and thank you for all the amazing work you're doing in this really, really difficult time with your own students. And whatever we can do to help, please let us know what that is. Okay? Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great weekend.
See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.